Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode in the Talented Learning Executive Briefing Series. This is my favorite series of content because we get to travel the world wide and review and learn about the world's best learning technology systems. And today's no different. We're all the way over in beautiful Copenhagen, or just north of Copenhagen in Denmark, here with the Eurekos folks who purpose-built one of the world's best customer education learning management systems. And not just a learning management system, but broader than that, addresses the needs of the customer education marketplace. We're going to learn all about it today from the executive team. We have Anders Wilmsen, who's the CEO, and also Nick Erickson, who's the CTO. And we couldn't find two better representatives to share everything about the Eurekos learning system. Gentlemen, it's all yours.
Thank you, John. And it's great to be here and give us a chance to talk a little bit more about us as a company. And Nick is not actually only the CTO; he's the founder as well. So
and founder. About that.
Yeah,
selling you short. Selling you short.
He's selling you short. So let me share a few slides here with you guys, and then I can tell you a little bit more about us as a company.
All right.
So this is the latest update about us. So we were founded roughly 10 years ago. Nick actually started the software development 11 years ago. So we are currently going into our 11th year right now in terms of the release. We are, as you mentioned, based out of Copenhagen. We have 35 to 40 employees and 130 plus customers. We traditionally, when you are a Nordic company, you would always start with your home market, and from there you expand into, further down into Europe and then US and Canada. But for us, we have actually had a different journey. We started our customers and development with them in Europe, in Germany, in Switzerland, Belgium, Holland, other countries, and of course Denmark as well. So today, our customer base is spread throughout the Europe and most European countries, US, Canada, and of course the Nordic. So we are one of the few, let's say, Danish companies, software companies that have a much stronger customer base in Europe and US. And that's one of the things that's had a big impact on us, because from the beginning, our software company, when you start developing software and you work as closely with customers as we do, you're quite influenced by the demands and the needs of those customers. And there's a lot of the European companies, Denmark being a very small country, are much bigger on average versus other Danish software companies starting their development along with customers in Denmark. We found that the type of the customers that we have been developing for and with over the many years are traditionally enterprise size companies or large organizations. And today that kind of makes us ideal for almost any type, any size of US or European company, be it both enterprise, nonprofit companies, organizations, and other training and consulting companies. So if you look over to the left there, you see our top 3 industries. They are hardware and software manufacturers. They are training consulting companies and nonprofit. What we have learned lately is that, and over the past few years, is that nonprofit organizations have quite complex needs. They, as an example, we just started working with a US, California-based nonprofit. They work with Kenya right now to introduce their type of information, which is information about the Arctic environment. And they're introducing that to the entire school system in Kenya. And in this case, it actually requires very complex integrations. It requires some customization as well, even to make sure that our LMS works with the systems locally in Kenya. And this is what we see, that nonprofit organizations traditionally has not had very complex and advanced needs, but as they are developing and they are getting both members and they're trying to service school systems or companies or individuals throughout the world, they are also starting to become more and more complex with more advanced needs. A little bit back about our company. As I mentioned before, we were founded in Denmark. And one of the things that makes us unique is that we are still owned by the senior management. Nick, one of them, and myself, as well as others in the company. We are self-financed and profitable, and we have no outside investors currently working with us. It gives us a large control of the direction and strategy which we want to deploy, and it's something we very much enjoy, that independency. We are also having our own in-house development team, also something quite unusual. A lot of LMS software companies today outsource development in general. We have found that the consistency and the quality, we can only get that by hiring our own team. And so we have done that from the beginning, and we still do that today. So not only do we have a team that's responsible for the development of the software itself, the expansion of that, but also the same team are actually handling customizations for many of our large customers, also the integrations, new integrations, whatever it may be, or customer-driven integrations. And it's one of the advantages of having our own team do this. And by the way, John, at any given time, if you have questions, don't hesitate, just stop me.
Okay, I will.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Okay, and yeah, one of the things that happened is initially the first 3 or 4 years, we were very focused on employee training and let's say higher ed to some degree. We found that the companies you started working with, a lot of them were manufacturers, and they started coming to us with their external needs and requirements. That they had customers they needed to train, they had partners, service organizations, etc. And they needed them certified, and they need to be able to track and follow this on a global scale. So as we started this development very closely with some of these very large global companies, we have more and more aligned ourselves and transitioned away from internal training to now being exclusively focused on what you can call extended enterprise training, customer education. There's a lot of acronyms for this. But in general, any type of external training, education, knowledge sharing, certification, etc., that you need to do is something that you can handle with our software. It could be external certifications, it could be technicians who need to be certified on a product, or you need to certify people with a special add-on education for security reasons, or there are endless possibilities is what we see. Another thing that one of our large customers have as a challenge is that they have roughly 30 legal entities around the world. And they found that even though they are now using our LMS in every one of those legal entities, they had problems sharing information with each other. Not only that, they sometimes, let's say Latin America would develop a really efficient training based on a new product or new service that they did. And yet they couldn't figure out a way to share that with all 27 entities. The amount of effort that took was simply too great. One of the things we developed, I think 5-6 years ago, is a marketplace. We're not currently using it externally right now. It's where we can connect all of our customers with each other. But we have started to deploy that as an internal marketplace for large customers, which gives them a chance to now very easily both promote and share. We've created this new type of training or certification, etc. And then any entity that's on this marketplace can then grab it and then use it, and vice versa, right? So it's helped them dramatically improve the knowledge sharing, not just across assets, but also trainings especially, right? Another big challenge that we see in the market is on-premise. So our LMS, basically, we can take it and adjust it for organizations, government, and large corporations if they need it to be used on site in their own. And we have done it both in the US and Europe, and it's something that we know there's a strong demand for. The challenge with that is for us as a manufacturer is it takes away some of our best talent, basically, because it is very complex, and usually the same people you need to use for this, you have to use them also for your own development, right? Your roadmap, etc. And yes, it is a bit of a race, if you want to be a very innovative and leading company, you will slow down if you have to also focus on that. But we have decided it is something that's strategic for us. We have many big customers who need this, and we see a big need for this also going forward in the future. So it is something that we will continue to offer, and we find that is quite unique in the market as well. Lastly is our customization integration. So as mentioned, if you have today, our LMS will fit most of your needs, but if you have a unique process and you simply can't cover it exactly with the way that the software is designed for, then we can adjust it, the software for that customer specific needs. We also sometimes add on a few additional things, such as, let me see, it should be here on my next slide. Let me see here. Yeah, if you go to key differentiators, you see in the bottom middle of the section of the page here, we have event management. That is something that we were approached by a 50 billion euro company. They do customer events almost weekly, and they found that customer events is another way of touching your customers, right? It's one of many things. You should have a whole range of activities that you do with your customers in terms of building that brand awareness, churning customers, unengaged partners, etc., or provide a better product adoption. You simply have to find a way to touch them in any way possible, from a webinar, seminar, virtual instructor-led training, customer events, etc. So with them, we actually have now designed and developed a whole entire event management where salespeople from your company, account managers, etc., can all now invite people, enroll them, and manage the entire process of the event itself. And that is now integrated into our LMS. So it's a good example of where we work closely with a big customer to solve a need that has not yet been solved in the market. And I think we believe we are one of the first to actually do this, not doing something unique with a customer that's covering a market need, but event management itself, having that fully integrated into the LMS. Another couple of key differentiators that we're doing and developing right now is content translation. So we, as you know, we have the capability of creating content inside of the LMS, right? You can take a video as an example, bringing it, making it interactive. Still, one of the biggest challenges today is that even the smallest companies that we work with, 5 employees, 10 employees, they can create an absolutely incredible training in a GDPR training, a security training, or as one of our customers in Sweden does, they do 5G training for large enterprises globally. The challenge again is, as what everyone has, is that you want to be able to localize what you do for your customers as much as you possibly can. One thing is how you navigate the software, that when you log on, no matter where you are in the world, you should be able to navigate in your own language. So we have 130 languages, I believe we're up to, on the platform. And the next step we are doing right now, we're releasing in a few months, is that we are now giving our customers the ability to clone the product training or knowledge sharing, whatever they may work on inside of LMS and then clone that into the same languages, which is a unique feature that has been a challenge always. When you do translation of especially technical descriptions, it's very hard often to use AI, machine learning in general. So we built in a couple of additional things, which makes the language that's that's being used much more closer to what it would be if you'd gone through an agency. And this is something Nick will talk about a little bit, how we do that later on. The other couple of key differentiators, which we believe are unique to us, is that we have the ability for you to create customer portals, right? So if you have, let's say, a reseller or distributor channel which you use to sell your products through, or direct for that matter, direct to end users, then very often it is needed and required that you have a customization for them in terms of their branding, what type of content they see and how do they see it, do they need unique, learning paths, etc. So what we call a branded portal, basically multi-tenancy, is something that is built in, and we do not charge for that. It is unlimited, which is a big deal for many manufacturers, as you can sometimes have tens of thousands of customers. It becomes extremely expensive if you charge for these portals once you get up to a certain number. So we want to make that, give our customers basically ability to scale as fast as they need without having to worry about what that cost is, because we don't really experience cost ourselves unless they use the product, which is how we also price it, that you pay for what you actually use, right? With that, also e-commerce and pricing models. So we are spending a lot of time and energy on trying to figure out how our customers sell the training that they create. Some provide it for free, of course, but a lot have started to sell training, even a mix of those. And then we have to be able to do that even on a customer level, meaning that some customers have one pricing model, could be a subscription, it could be that you buy one product at a time, or it could be a combination, right? And that we need to be able to do from customer to customer throughout the portals. And I hope it appears as if that it sounds like what we're trying to go for here is that, and you can see on our market vision, right, is that we want to be it's simply one of the strongest technology companies out there within the LMS world, right? That we can create a product like a tool for you that can help you, enable you, and really help solve problems. And it's not just about what you can do inside of the LMS. It's not just about you can create the training inside of it. You can make it interactive. You can make it very engaging, etc. It's how you deliver this globally. It's how you deliver this in many languages. It's the customer experience working with you using the software that's key. And that is something that's also, then it becomes also incredibly important how it's integrated into that local environment. So the LMS is never single standing, right? Either you have some sort of, if it's employee training, you have 80 integrations. So as employees are starting up, is it automatically carried over into the LMS and you automatically assign trainings, etc. For customers, same thing. You want it to be connected to your CRM, or you want to be connected to your BR system through an LRS, or whatever that may be needed, so that you can take full advantage of all the information which is in the LMS, but also being able to execute far better. So there's a connection between sales, marketing, customer success, customer engagement, etc. So it's not enough just to make a great LMS and talk a lot and have all these fancy features if you can't really integrate it properly and you can't really serve, into your different departments internally with the right information at the right time, then it becomes kind of a new thing. So going forward, our growth strategy is continue to come out with innovative new features, right? Not something that we sit, Nick and the other engineers sit and think out, hey, maybe we should solve this issue. It is something that very often our customers come to us with challenges that they're now facing. And as we all know, the market is constantly changing, right? The customers' situation is constantly changing. So it is very important to be very close to the market. It's very important to understand the needs, not just of your customers, but also their customers and so on, right? That's very important. We spend a lot of time staying close to the market, staying close to our customers. We also see going forward that many companies, also because of the economy we're in right now, it's a challenging time for everyone. One of the first things many companies do is that they have to cut down, unfortunately, on people who manage LMS or different types of software like that. It's very often someone in sales and marketing, you're now responsible for our CRM and how we use that to engage. And it becomes a challenge figuring out how do you take full advantage of the LMS, but not really having full-time employees or creating the content, right? How getting information from them, from the relevant departments and being able to then deploy that. So some of the things we're looking at is content and LMS services. And then again, trying to figure out what is that big obstacle that our customers are facing right now, aside from the software itself, and how can we be of service there, right? And then lastly is on-premise installations. So let's say the threat of hacking and hackers globally is not something that's going away. It's only going to get worse. And we see, though, there is a trend now that there are massive companies and organizations that are going cloud-based, but there are also some that are doing the opposite. And then there are also those that already have an existing data warehouses. They're expanding on that, or they're going to local, smaller, for instance, especially in Europe, where we see GDPR having such a big issue, identity theft, data privacy, that they are starting to choose very small local data warehouses who they want to work with because they feel closer, they feel more secure working with them than, let's say, an Amazon or a Microsoft Azure, etc. So being able to integrate into not just one, but multiple, providers is key. And that's something we do as well when it's needed, right? Okay, I'm just talking. I know, so please stop me if you
good
need to.
Overview. Hey, a quick question
Okay.
though about external. As you know, here at Talented Learning, all we do is think about extended enterprise and external learning.
Yeah.
Do you find that in Europe, the customers that you have or that you see that are doing all those use cases that you mentioned, are they doing it for the first time on a learning system, or do you find that they're on other learning systems and now they're going to specialty system like yours? Like what's the trend in Europe?
Yeah, that's a great question because it's actually not that easy to answer. We see all three. So we see quite many have tried for a long time because LMS has been around for a long time. So they've used LMS for employees for a long time. And as COVID happened, sustainability became a huge issue. We have to cut down on travel. We have to keep our salespeople in-house, right? Let's go out and figure out how do we touch our customers? How do we engage with them in a better way? And they've taken the existing LMS that they have and they tried to, like I said, we tried everything. We try to get everything out of it. We love it for the employee side, but we just can't solve that external need. So we need another LMS. So they will then run two LMSs side by side. One is highly focused on internal and one that's highly focused on extended enterprise, right? Mm-hmm. Then we have a whole bunch of other companies coming to us and customers who have never done it before. They have absolutely no idea what an LMS is. They just know we need to train our customers, we need to certify them, we need to engage with them, right? And they really don't know. They just know they need a piece of software. They don't know, is it really an LMS or is it not? So the LMS as a customer engaging platform is not something that's widely branded and on top of everyone's mind. So very often they don't know what to look for. But so we see both of those things. And then we also see a big group of companies that need it, but simply don't have the people. They don't have the resources to hire a full-time person to actually manage this. That's the third group, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Great. Well, it sounds a lot like North America, quite frankly.
Yeah. And it's a similar thing we see, because we have like a 50-50 split between the US and European customers now. And we see them actually being quite similar. The US market is further ahead than the European market in terms of use of an LMS software system. So they've been doing it for a lot longer. It kind of also started over there, right? But because of data privacy is such a massive thing in Europe, and GDPR has been driven so hard by the European Union, we found that companies there are acting very fast and trying to solve this. So not only do you need the ability to do this, but you need to do it in a very secure way, right? Where data privacy is always the first thing you're trying to fix and solve, and then how do we do it afterwards? So it's a two little different approach, but otherwise they have similar needs, right?
Excellent. All right, thank you.
And so a couple of case studies. So this, for instance, is one of our top customers. They are a Japanese-owned medical company, so they have business in over 200 countries worldwide. They have very advanced products, like in medical devices, as you can see on the left side, the challenge. They had an internal LMS. It wasn't sufficient. They needed something else for external training, right? And again, they wanted something that can be configured in many different ways, because not every product is born the same. So you have products that some are very high touch, some requires an enormous amount of training. For instance, they have a product that requires a month of training to be certified in, and then they have others that require very little. And for that reason, it's very important that you have to be able to configure the LMS, right? So it matches all extremities of whatever requirements that are there, right? The result was that they started in Europe. So even though it was Japanese owned, it was so interesting. It's that they did it so well. So the company as a group worldwide used different LMS, and then different regions wanted to have an impact and trying to obviously impact the final solution, like who should they run with on a global basis. And the team in Europe did really well with us, and they are now the global headquarters for global training and certification, right, for this company.
Excellent.
Yeah. And here is a great example of a small, highly skilled training company. They are only 30, 40 employees, but yet they service some of the world's biggest companies. So their customers, and this is actually public knowledge also on their website, but their customers are some AT&T, which is the world's largest telecom company, and it's Samsung and others, very large brands who use them for 5G training. Their challenge is that what they do is they take the newest technology, they concentrate it down into hours of video-based content, and it's literally video-based. So you're sitting and watching very large videos, etc. So both they needed to be able to scale that down and create micro learning and figure a way how to deliver that, right? But it was also being able to simply handle these massive sizes of video files. So for them, there was a higher focus on the technology itself, like how could you actually handle this, versus then later on, well, how do we then deliver the best possible training? So a very different a challenge that they had. And then another also completely unique, which it is often for nonprofit organizations, the United Nations Refugee Agency. They needed an LMS with no size limits because their goal is, along with the European Union, is to train teachers throughout Europe in terms of how they would handle refugees who are living inside of Europe. It's not just, let's say, how do we handle all the displaced refugees that are around the world, but they also have to figure out how do we integrate the refugees who are finally coming into a country and trying to be assimilated. How do we make sure that basically the goal is to get young people in who should attend university to attend university at a much higher degree than they do today. And of course, because they have had a very rough background, they've had, they've been exposed to really horrific things very often, right? So they found that they had to train the teachers throughout Europe in how to actually work with these students to create better results. So for them, it was working with very large numbers, unknown numbers, and scalability with a very mixed blend of learning and a lot of languages as well. Because not only should you be able to handle all the languages in Europe where the training is being delivered locally, but also the people looking at that training, again, it could be someone from Syria, right? So they want to be able to navigate it in their language. And up until this point, we haven't been able to help them actually convert all these trainings from English, for instance, to that local languages, but we will be able to do that soon. And that's a key thing for an organization like this. Languages is an absolute one of the most important things. That's a little bit about what our roadmap and what's coming. We're going to put a lot of effort into adaptive learning. So in terms of the learning paths that we have in our system, or learning journeys, if you will, you should be able to go down into a personal level at whether it's an employee or a customer or a customer's customer, etc. But everyone should be able to have a specific learning path addressed only for them. And eventually with adaptive learning, which is what we're working on, is that based on their skill set and their challenges, is as you go through a learning path of classroom training or a virtual instructor-led training, etc., at some point when you start hitting your weaknesses, your weak spots, you should basically come out another branch and start taking an additional learning path that will help strengthen you in that area. So that's, instead of, everyone talks about AI today, and I think it's very hard to see how you can use AI because it's not that well controlled, whereas adaptive learning is very controlled and is highly efficient in terms of learning and being able to provide the right content at the right time when where it's needed, right? Content translation, we talked about that, being able to translate the content itself into 100+ languages. Customer onboarding, Nick will talk more about that, and then the need for very deep analytics and reporting so that you truly understand what's efficient, what's not efficient, how is your deployment going worldwide or within the US, because it's such a massive market. Obviously, it doesn't have to be global. US is a huge market in itself. More advanced e-commerce subscription models, I have to say, a tough word. And event management is something that we also talked about, right? So these are some of the immediate things that we're working on this year. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it on for what I'm going to show you, right? And then from this point on, it will be Nick who will actually give you a little bit of an insight to the software itself.
Outstanding, Anderson. Thanks for a really thorough overview of your organization. Sounds like you guys are hitting all cylinders running, conquering the market that not necessarily everybody else is chasing. And so just carving out a real nice spot for yourself with a unique set of differentiations, targeting a hot industry of customer external learning and nonprofits in general. Yeah. So all that is seems like you're just focused right on a thriving sector and driving innovation. So can't wait to see it. Nick, you've been quiet.
Yeah,
you've been quiet. Let's see it all.
Yeah. Let's see. So Let's get in and share my screen here.
All right. We're going to start a demonstration of the Eurekos system.
So thank you. What I will do here now is that I'm going to take you through some of the standard roles that people will be able to use in the system. We have 9 standard roles, and we can create as many as we want. But before we get there, I just want to, I would just like to give a quick overview of what it is that we can do here. I'm now a platform admin. You can see that something is going on my screen right now, like a video is playing up here. This is because I'm creating content. So I'm actually in the middle of creating some content, and I can access this. I also have some general analytics, like really high level at a glance. So if I want to see how these, users, new users, registered users, and participants, how they're faring, I can go and have a look at that. If I'm using my commerce solution and I have a campaign running at the moment, and I want to find out, how are we how we're doing this is, of course, my internal platform. So there's no secret data in here, anything that has been built up. But then, I could follow out the campaigns, and if I'm successful in a given period of time where I'm trying to launch new training and offerings. And we also have general analytics such as these, like the active users that are currently on the platform, in any given month or quarter or period. And I also have different types of logins, as you can see. So we actually offer one of the things that Anders was talking about before. We offer different ways for people to access the platform. This goes very deep. This is to go across all those use cases that we have. So a QR code for us is not just a QR code as you're used to. Yes, it could be, so that it's something that you're putting on a product somewhere, on a packaging or anything else, and I will be able to retrieve this. But we can do it without login. So for example, if you are running a campaign or you want to do something on social media that do not require a login, then you would be able to use these QR codes to access some of that content. It could also be connected to specific connections with specific resellers, for example, that you are working with. So, it can be connected to something called, for example, a federation with SSO and other examples that could lead you straight into a specific organization, or it could lead you straight into a specific training. So depending on what you're getting access to, lots of stuff in here. And this is the key thing, because it's all about structure. So before I jump into all the, fancy images and all of this, let's look at those organizations. So what I did here is that we created one for you. So in order not to show any client confidential data, we have created a talented learning organization. And in this case, you can see that there are 4 active members. This would be like a participant, an instructor, and so on, and we can dive into that. But you can create as many as these as you like. You can also integrate them from other systems and create them automatically from CRM systems and other, glorious systems for this kind of thing. And you can also import, because you are in different phases typically of implementation where you need different solutions for this. So we can do all of this. Now, what I will do now is I'll just go in and edit this one. So for example, a lot of our clients, they have some sort of need to either provide a limitation. Let's say that I've got a bigger client. It could be a public sector client. It could be a bigger corporation. And I've made an agreement with you that you can register 500 people. So, and you might have paid for these 500, but we don't know who they are at this point. Maybe you say that these 500 people, because you have already paid, then everything is free for you. So this is an easy way to overrule all that complex commerce stuff that you typically need to manage, on a very granular level. So one of the other reasons that people choose Eurekos is we are not forgetting the admin interface or the way that you need to work with all of this. This complexity in extended enterprise can get out of hand really, really quickly, and especially when you start to develop, over years. So you have to be, really, really, careful about the way that you implement all these different modalities, so that they work on top of each other. Maybe I have this agreement that run until a certain time. So, until that date, and then, the prices drop back. Also, we have clients that don't want competitors. Sometimes you're even doing it for free. So there's no discounts, there's none of this. But, I have a need to, and I have made an agreement. So we have some semiconductor, a semiconductor company, for example, in the US, who would like that everybody from company X and so on, they will be able to sign up themselves. Yeah, everybody go. So this is kind of a whitelist, but and we automatically put them into this organization when they have this email and they sign up from outside. So it's an elegant solution to a super complex problem, because you don't want to expose who your clients are, who you're working with, or who you have approved, and so on. Super easy. Now, all of these organizations, you can also set up the appearance. I will show you this in a minute when we adapt to you. I will also be able to go in and, put more granularity on this in the system, but still easy to do. And you can also add a top banner if you are interested in having, on your dashboard, and you want to streamline this to a visual identity that you want to provide across different partners and resellers that you have. And also the granularity that you need sometimes is, well, you know what? They are managing their own first level support. This is the support email that follows this,
Cool.
or, that sort of thing. So granularity upon, these things can be managed in one place, including subscriptions. So we have a simple subscription method in here. So I could choose this organization has a specific subscription set on it, monthly, annual, with a card, and then you get access to all of these trainings, when you get this and you pay for that, for example. So an easy way to set up a subscription too. And of course, you can have custom URLs. These are not new domains as such, but that would be my company X. Sorry. And then I would have, of course, your own domain, the client's own domain in here, but they would be able to create specific URLs that they can share that will land people even before signing up, on a page where they can have their own catalog that could be isolated to themselves. So each organization can also, even when you log in, have your own logo, SSO connections, and other things that only you will be able to access. And this is actually a pretty easy way to achieve something that is very complex that you can set up here. Now, if I am that person here for a moment, so if I go back to my dashboard I would be in here, and then I will be the talented learning participant 1. So I'll be a regular user that logs into the platform one way or another. So in this case, I would have something on extended enterprise learning, and I would have something that this is something I'm in progress on at this point. We'll get back to this one in a minute. So this is my latest one. I would also have potentially a deadline for something that's mandatory, and all these kind of things that you would expect to be there, they are of course here too. They are also relevant for extended enterprise learning, not just internally, but also externally. I would like to make sure that the distributors who are working for me, or the mechanics or whatever, they need to be certified 30 days after, that I've launched a new product. Otherwise I'm going to have my, whatever, follow up on them. So I need to have these types of things too. Now, and of course we have certificates as well. So you can create them within the platform. You can verify them from within the platform. They can check that they're valid and so on from outside. Anybody can, using, for example, a QR code. Now, but what I really want to do here, just a minute. So we also have communities. So that might be it. This might be my whole, experience that I have my trainings of any kind of hybrid training. But I might also have communities which we will dive into. So subject matter experts, product topics, anything that you want to set up around this. And there might be other things that I can, other offerings that you have that I don't get automatically, that I have not been assigned to. So this is the internal catalog. And here we've created for you 4 examples. So let's say that I was more interested in using, let's imagine I had a course about content creation. Well, then, I can read about this. You might include videos. In this case, of course, it's YouTube, but I will get back to that. We have our internal integrated service as well. And I can register myself. I can pay. I can use coupons. I can, use virtual credits. There are a multitude of different ways to get access to this content, which again could be overruled by specific requirements. We can even, because this is something that some clients do, especially if you have a large, a broad range of pricing, you might say that this one can be paid by credit card, the next one can't. This one, you have to request an invoice. So even on training level, you can control these types of things. But if I go back here to my overview, and let's say that I want to go into this one. So I don't want to, resume where I left off. So I'm basically getting into a course that has been built using the native, authoring interface, which I will show you. So just 3 pages with your content. So yeah, I could have, a streaming video that I have uploaded. This runs globally across Amazon CloudFront. So we've integrated this. It transcodes the video into different bit rates, and it detects the audio, the bandwidth too against the user and plays the most appropriate quality. And of course, you can create text areas. We have some tools for you to allow downloads from specific folders. This is an automatic list. It updates automatically from a folder, like you have when you open a SharePoint up or anything else that people will actually know. And of course, you could also create little tests and quizzes, within the platform, or bigger sets of quizzes with tools that you can use either to unlock or just to test your knowledge inside if you want to make any comprehension checks. But these items are not just videos and so on. We have more than 40 different types of tools that you could put in and create experiences around without actually using a PowerPoint. So this is all created within a browser, for example, in this case. So I could also build in checks and other things based on the content, in this case, you, John, and we would be able to, progress along. As you can see over here, we start to progress because I'm a participant. I can also see what I need to do to finish something at any point. In this case, it's inside a course. It could also be in an entire learning path that consists of multiple different elements. Now, this example here, we have turned it around. So this is an integrated tool too, where we took one of the videos that you have, and in this case, we build in some interactivity on it. It's super easy to do, again, within the platform. Stop it, or maybe at some point, you want to check and you want to have this comprehension check. So here we have, an example of I need to get this right before I would be able to continue. So, and now I could continue this part. Of course, I can turn off the scrubbing down here to support this kind of thing. There are other types and ways to create engaging content. And you can also include our teams, the communities. So in this case, you can see we have embedded a discussion, which is in fact, a connection to an entire team of discussions, tasks, file sharing, and other things that you can do inside. And if I try to open this one up, then I can actually have this discussion right here. I don't need to go somewhere else because this is all about user experience, that you want to support in here. And you can also include videos and other parts that, people, and you can decide who can upload and, make part of the whole experience. When I'm done, I will obviously close and save my progress, and I'm back, at the dashboard. And if it was a video that I had as my course thumbnail that will play to give you an engaging experience, there are various behaviors you can choose around how that shows up. And you can also, have your own login screens and, other visual things around this. So let's try and look at something else before I leave this, just conceptually. I'll not go into that much depth here. So you see that I've got one that had a little number 2 on it. That's because this is a learning journey. So just the concept of this is, yes, you could have multiple trainings that could consist, that's a learning journey. But you can put these together inside of Eurekos and create a learning journey that is defined within one path. So I can combine different ways of doing this. This is in a self-paced course or some pre-material. Then obviously, once they have seen all of this, John, if this has been you, if this had been you, then you would want them to come on a call, and then they will bring their own requirements. And then you are going to give them advice about which LMS that they actually needed to go for. And so you will have a dialogue. So the second one will be some sort of virtual webinar. Now, you can combine any number of these and make restrictions between them, make a flow between them. We have, in some of the examples that Anders gave, with Sysmex, for example, this client that you saw here, in some regions of the world, they do exclusively, webinars. For example, they would have a rule that, you need to do 4 out of 8. Now you're certified in this product. Other regions, they do self-paced training. Some do both. So there's, you can combine this in any way that you want, and you can also put in assignments and other elements as part of these learning paths. That means you can design a hybrid, and it's easy to maintain and update. And this is also where adaptive learning comes into play. So some of these could be hidden until a certain thing happens. Or we could pop up certain elements and say, hey, you know what, I'm actually a trainer. I'm a specialist. That's all good. But yes, I would like to know more technical details. So we're going to ask about that. And then, you can pop up a 3D view. So we've created a 3D viewer as well, so that they can spin the products with annotations and other things inside. So that's some of the experience that you can get. Yeah. Now I'm going to switch back to be myself. So I can actually emulate being these different users. And so quickly, I'll be the talented learning instructor. So in this case, I'll be someone who's facilitating some sort of offering that we have. And yes, I could do my own training as well, of course, and I could participate in anything else that everybody else does. But what I want to do here is just to show you the analytics. So as an instructor, I need something really simple. I am responsible for these 2 types of trainings. I need my benchmark because I just need to know that before we have this meeting done with the group, that I can see that none of them have actually prepared. Now, this is something I can do something about, or at least I know before that training happens, or that webinar happens, or that conference starts, because I would know what to expect. But obviously, if it is in another scenario, I could go in and I could see and download reports really easily with visuals in here about what people actually answered. And I would also be able to go in and look at the details of specifics. So apart from the benchmark across my group of people, or cohorts, as it is also called, then I could go into the details. Now, I can see how many times that they did certain things, videos that they have watched more than 90%, a configurable attribute, by the way. People look at this differently. And I can also look at the spider diagrams of multiple elements in here and see how they're doing that with the questionnaires. This is almost like a skills matrix that you're actually looking at this point. And if I want to go in and see the details of what they answered, how many times, what happened in attempt 1, 2, 3, and 4, I will be able to look at this too. So we have special customized dashboards for specific roles to make it easy for them to manage. I'll show you one more example on this. And that would be that I will be a scenario that many would recognize, because we almost don't have any instance anymore of extended enterprise that do not want this. So not everybody are facilitating their training. But if I'm in some kind of a distributor scenario, then I would want to have organizations. The one that I just showed you could have had multiple sub-organizations. Yeah, this could also be departments. This could be my resellers. This could be regions, Europe, US, then splitting it up, and I could have any kind of grouping. In this case, we just have you like in a separate organization, and I now put a manager role in here. So I will be able to see that I've got 4 people that I supervise. I want to see what participant 1 did, when they are certified. I also have filters to work with. So, I can filter them out by different properties, and these properties could expand depending on the profile information you have on users. So, if I have a sudden audit or anything else, or I need warnings that, certain people have not done something within a certain timeline, then I will get this as a manager, and I have my overviews. I can download my reports, and I can also do user management. So let's say that we have some trainings that are available, and let's say that this content creation is something that I think everybody should have. I'll read about it, or I have a new employee or a new salesperson starting. I'm now an outlet somewhere, I'm a distributor, and I need to have this person know something about this. Now, me as the main headquarter company, I wouldn't know that my distributors, hired a new person, yesterday, but the manager who works there does. So we need an easy interface for the managers to assign training to people. So I can go and look at these available for self-registration. That means something that is not supported by other automatic rules. And then I will say, let's give this to them. Pay, use my virtual credits again. That could be based on marketing initiatives and other things. And I can use these to purchase. So for the different processes, if we're looking at both a sales funnel and managing your whole distributor network, or even if you are internal, looking at the managers in-house and so on, we've got features to help them do the job that they need to do 80% of the time. And for that reason, we can make it easy when we have this focus. Now, if I wanted to create content, and I'll jump right into this right now, then I would be able to go and use the course builder that we have inside. Now, if you can see down here, then we've got a set of different archives. So these are the interactive pieces. That means that we are working with content asset management. This is, all these interactive elements that have been created. There could be many different types. So for example, these are some of the types that we have here, and we've created some of our own. Now these get auto-tagged by where I use it. That means if I have a course ID or something, show me everything that has been created and used in this course. Then I will be able to filter that out and just get that from my archives here. So I can find anything that I did in English belonging to this course at any point in time. Similar, we have the videos where you have streaming videos that have been uploaded. And so I would be able to go in, for example, also and make some properties on these. So I can upload and replace these videos, add thumbnails to them, add slides to them, add subtitles to them manually, and they will be automatically tagged too. But if I want to add some manual keywords to them, I can do it too. Yeah. Now, once I have some of these assets available, then I might want to use them in some of the courses that I'm building. And from our perspective, it doesn't matter if you created it in an external tool or within. We just offer more abilities if you have, if you're using the integrated tool, because we have more control over all the assets. For example, you update an asset, it's instantly updated everywhere that this one has been used in all the variants of courses and offerings that you have. This is important, and this is something that is, makes all the difference in your maintenance when you have a new product that you need to get out there, and it needs to be there 10 minutes ago. Yeah, and then you update a piece or an asset, and then it's everywhere, across the world. Now, if I wanted to create something in here, I'll just click create, and this would be my new training. So you basically get a mind map concept where you can create topics like these. right? And you can change the order. You can add subtopics to these as well. And you can work with that. Yes, you can go in and create restrictions even between pages on various items and dates and variables to support various flows. But you don't need to concern yourself with all of this until you actually need this. So right now, it's super easy for me to do. I'll just say save. I have a course. It picks up a course template that you can edit. And then I have my little course here, perhaps a course and an instruction about how to create a course. Now I already have my whole navigation set up, and I can at any time look at this as a participant. And what you see is that it looks exactly the same, except that I get my menu. That's because it's responsive, it's adaptive. It will adapt to mobile phones, tablets, and so on automatically. Even our mobile app, works off this. And we have something unique here too. If you had created something in an external tool, like a SCORM file or similar, then you would be able to import this file and use it as an asset on a page, together with whatever else that we're offering in here of tools. But when I want to edit a page such as this, then I will simply click my edit page function. And what you will notice when I do this is that it basically just gives me a super easy columns-based editing system. You'll see my content starts to move around when I click on these. Yeah. So if I go back to the original one, then I can also hover them. And let's imagine that I actually wanted to do what I just did here, like insert a video. I can click on the plus icon, and then all my assets plus other types of content that we have learned over the years that people need. So then I would be able to insert, for example, something like a video. Let me just insert this one. So I can insert the video, position it, drag it somewhere else. I would be able to go in and say, hey, I've got another asset here. So this is my interactions. These are more than 40 different types of options that I have. So let's take the talented learning multiple choice option. And then I'll be able to put this in and drag it somewhere, and it will adapt and stay. When I'm done, I will click save. You can see these assets, except for, of course, text assets that I might, edit on the spot. Then, they refer to the original source. And already right now, the system will know that this asset had been used in this course, and I will be able to find it, through my settings and taggings and everything else that would be there automatically. Another thing that we do in here is that we have version history auditing, something that bigger corporations want. So this one was just created, and I haven't got a lot of variants of it, but I can go into my revisions, and I can see that this one was done, 2 minutes ago, return to previous versions of my content that I've created inside. And I will also be able to send this for review. If I have a subject matter expert or even somebody external to the system who needs to comment on the pages and the content or comment inside the videos, 2 minutes and 12 seconds inside, they will be able to say that I said something wrong in here. And the whole, options that we have in here is also that that we have the version history. So if I, had a particular point in time and I want to say this is where you need to start distributing it to everybody from 2016 because this was the big change, then you can make that choice. This version history follows the everything else that you do in course administration and everything else, reports, so that you will be able to see these details specifically. Now, if I have created my courses in here, then you can see that I've got something called my new training. It's right there. Yeah. The reason that it appears here is because I have, focus on a few of these that I'm working on. So it's right there. And obviously, I would be able to clone this one. So I can create templates, not just courses, but templates that I can use for different product lines and so on easily. That doesn't just have a single page, but has a multitude of pages that I want to do. This is something that bigger corporations, they enjoy because it allows them that flexibility that is never built into a page editor of any kind. And also, you would be able to translate these. Now, in order to show you this was what Anders talked about before. You see my course list, so I will jump right over into an easy way of showing you this. So I will be able to take a course, and I want to translate this course. So I want this one in a different language. That means that editor that you saw before, I create anything I want. But that editor in there will now translate this one to a different language. Create new versions, add subtitles to the video. It will create new versions of the quiz element that I have set in there. So there will be a French version of this too. And here is then the kicker. Now that works, of course. But if I'm a medical company that really needs to make sure that my product names stay the same, they don't get translated, my specific wording or my translation models that I have been using for years with the translation agencies, then I will be able to use this to train the AI in language pairs so that the output becomes better. And that output I can use across anything else. I would be able to go into that interactions archive that I showed you just a minute ago, and I would be able to go in and translate specifically this quiz object that we support, the translation of, and then I would also be able to manually go and do this as well. And when I do that, what do you want to translate it to? Well, this language that has been activated on my platform, but in fact, I want to use this particular because this is something about some veterinarian stuff. So let me use this model, which translates better. So we have tested this with clients before we engaged into that development to make sure that the results were worth the effort, because this is not free. You train the models and you train them and you own them yourself too. Yeah. Okay. So coming back to the system, I would just like to show you, one or two more things, but just basically we have a lot of options in here, which also is concerned to, how do we manage, requirements across a multitude of different organizations, departments, and so on. So we have onboarding rules. And the term of onboarding rule is perhaps not new, but this would be my new rule. Okay. Now I'm going to say, what do I, okay, so I want everybody who speaks English and from the organization of, and then I'll pick the talented learning. So if this combination, yeah, or, and, exclude, yeah, and I will say, except if they're from Afghanistan, then they will get these trainings. Yeah. So, I can have rules that I can set up for my entire distributor network or for any kind of complex organization. Or if I'm an NGO with, delivery mechanisms that has to cross the world with, different options and trainings that need to be localized to Kenya, to Germany, to, different scenarios, then I can set these automation rules up. And the beauty of all of this is that they work across everything. That means people come in through a sign up themselves, self-registration, admins who are, creating a new user or a bunch of users, import sheets, SSO mechanisms, anything that comes through other systems and so on. They all buy, they have to go buy these. And when do they kick in? Upon changes. Yeah. So whenever something changes, I get access to new stuff. There will be more here on when we are talking adaptive learning, specifically in here about asking questions when people are onboarding the platform, giving them access to different things depending on their answers, having NPS questions that are transactional, and by, for example, every half year, so on org level, or they could be on training level, and this sort of thing too. So these are all onboarding rules. Now I could probably, keep going here for, another hour, but I think that this is what I wanted to show you, and end up here with the course administration, just an overview. What can I do? So yes, I can create automated email workflows that allow you to, set up rules. Brief overview, very fast. I'll go into one here. These are all, just data that we have created. Yeah, I'll edit it. So here we have a scenario where I could say who to notify. This has a lot of complexity built into it. So even what you saw here, these are the different scenarios that you can imagine. People who did not finish the training. Managers need to get informed when this happens and so on. Now, all of this ends up in a type of template that you can connect to multiple different trainings. So if you have something for all my self-paced, okay, that's cool. But this particular thing, it needs to get its own email flow and support and engagement. Then I create that and connect it to the trainings. The trainings that I will look at inside my course administration, where I will have an overview of all my modules, my onboarding rules, whether or not something is self-paced, and I can create as many as I like. So you can see down here, I've got general facilities, settings, self-enrollment, access restrictions, when do I lose access to something, and so on activity level. But I will be able to add as many courses, online events, or entire learning paths that have been created that are connected within each other with an infinite number of combinations, so that I could choose repeating dates, choose your own track A, B, C, build that within your learning path as it is. So if you have an event that happens, first 3 hours is in plenum, 1 o'clock, you have to choose track A or track B or track C, and then you will be able to enroll yourself within the learning, path to different trainings and register people like this. That's what it means. So I think that's it for now. Are we out of time, John?
We're out of time. That was a good deep one. That's a good deep one. Thanks so much for the demonstration to go through that. It's obvious that the system is purpose built to support the scenarios of external learning and really automate, a lot of the issues that organizations have. And so what really stands out is how you're addressing it all the way from single sign-on to the sharing of content to versioning to GDPR restrictions, focusing on the on-premise. It's like all the different scenarios that organizations are going to run into. It's like you're just trying to help with this use case to remove all the barriers and make the system more useful to achieve business outcomes. So it's obvious that you're succeeding in that, and your innovation and your roadmap, continuing to go down those areas that are really being driven by customer demand. And as experts, in this customer education space, and as an analyst in this, customer education space, it's not figured out yet. This whole space, it's every day, it's evolving, it's innovating. There's no script that you have to follow, and so creating your own script and driving that in the marketplace is a good strategy. I'm sure very good for your clients. So thanks for taking the time to come here today. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Anders is on vacation. This is so important. He's coming off of vacation here to work today. So we're going to let him get back to all that fun. You can see all the sunshine in your face. So get back to having a good time. Nick, you got to hold down the ship here and do all the work while Anders is out. So thanks for that. We're looking forward to having everybody here when you listen to this. Check out the talentedlearning.com/podcast. We've got Nick coming on to the podcast here this week. Be published in a few weeks, and we'll get to dig deep into some good customer education discussion on top of that. And you can find more of Eurekos's content and at eurekos.com and be able to check out a lot more of this. I encourage you to reach out, contact him, get your own demonstration. I know from experience that we didn't see enough of this application yet, as I've spent a lot more time with these kind of folks here, getting deep into customer education and the capabilities. So if you're in that space, I encourage you to reach out and learn more from these folks, as they're a really good option. So Anders, Nick, thank you very much. Have a great day. We'll see you soon.
Likewise.
Nice. Listeners, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Talented Learning Executive Briefing demonstration series. Now you see why this is my favorite series of content, because you just can't get this level of detail and expertise anywhere else. So thanks for tuning in, and everybody have a great day.